Hey guys, we're back. This time we're taking a look at Red Dragon Inn 9 from Slugfest Games. This is the Kickstarter edition, so it has a couple extra things in here, but I'll point those out when we get to it. But this is another big box version of Red Dragon Inn. Contains everything you need to play the game, 5 new characters that you can add to your collection, a new pub to add to your pub crawl, some prizes, and there's a bunch of extras in there, and I believe 2 new modes for Otto, the solo player, as well. So anyway, we're going to get right in, take a look at the new characters, the new stuff, and everything that's in Red Dragon Inn 9. So for those of you who are looking, it actually does say Kickstarter edition down here in the corner. And I'm going to point out the things that are different to this than the normal retail version. It's not a whole lot, so if you can't get this version, you end up getting the retail version. It's not that big of a deal. So right on top here we have our new manual and the rules. As always, the newest version is going to contain the most up-to-date rules, so you can keep an eye on that. We have our components list of everything included in this set, and they have a little description of what they're for too. So that's kind of nice. Our table of contents, as far as the how to play goes, I don't think a lot has changed in here. They might have added a couple steps for some new things that didn't exist before, but overall, the game really hasn't changed much. So all of the how to play stuff is pretty much the same. And I think that ends that. And then we get on to our individual characters. There are 5 new characters in this expansion, so each one has a small section in here explaining their unique mechanics and how to play them. I also did notice Slugfest uploaded videos to their website, and I think they're going through all the different characters, but they have a real quick overview on how to play each of the characters in video form, and I think those are really neat. I don't know if there's a link. There used to be like a QR code to scan in the book. We have our team variant. So this is for the boss battle play where one player plays as a boss and everyone else plays against them. So they have all the rules for that in here because this set does include a new boss. And then they have a couple other things in here as well. All sorts of variants in here actually that I didn't know about. And there's Otto. I explain how to use the new Otto. Spelunker and Berserker are the 2 that we get in this set. I think the next couple pages are dedicated to that. There's a bar deck variant. There's a section on prizes. And then some card-specific interactions, which is always nice that they have in these. And just artwork of the new bar on the back. I don't think I mentioned in the beginning, Red Dragon Inn 9 is the Undercity. So we're at a bar in the Undercity. What do we go to first? Let's get the Kickstarter exclusive stuff out of the way. Which are these and this. And then everything else you're going to see is going to come in this set, even at retail. So this little pack of cards is all you're missing. And we have 2 prizes in here. A Varlo's Spyglass and the Ranger Badge. And they have the rules on how to use prizes on the back as well as being in the rule book. But 2 prizes to add to your prize bin. Like I said, these are what, 5 drinks here. 5 drinks here. Inferno Grony. Mage's Mistake. The Second Opinion. That one's interesting. slow gin, or slow glow gin, and the elixir of alertness. So you got those 5 drinks, those 2 prizes, and then we have the prize bin card here. I don't know if I have something that'll fit the sleeve for that. It's kind of thin. But this literally just sits on the table to designate the prize bin and where the in money is. And serves no other purpose really than that. So those right there are the only thing you're going to be missing out if you get the retail version of the game and not the Kickstarter. Promos, drinks you can usually find elsewhere. The prize cards are a little bit harder to track down, but other than that, you're not missing a lot. It's no big deal. Next thing we have here are our player boards. As with all of the new sets, you're going to get these smaller boards that are character specific. They have specific spots for cards based on the character. And these I actually never noticed before, but these are even different based on the character. And like in this case, Tercy here has a section where you refill your patience. That's not on anybody else's. He gains momentum at the beginning. But there's one of these for each of our new characters. And the cool artwork with the character and everything on them too is kind of neat. And our auto board for using him. As always with the big box sets, you get a bunch of coins. We don't use those, we have metal ones for our games, but they always offer the bigger coins with the base box sets like this, the big box sets. You have a bag of the, I love that they still include both, but you get the little cardboard tokens for the hearts and the alcohol for your fortitude and alcohol, but you also get the glass colored beads for the clear for alcohol and the red for your fortitude. I love that they give you both of those still and didn't forego one for the other, because I actually prefer the old glass beads over the cardboard tokens myself. They did include a number of bags. I used some of them, but I used smaller ones where I could find them because I like smaller bags to keep the tokens with the characters. But it was cool that they actually gave you some bags in there. We'll get into the other extras here. And first off, we do have some more prize cards. We have Dale's Finest Mushroom, the Speedy Runner's Stopwatch, and the Straw of Misdirection. All 3 of these will be included in every copy of the game. We have our dividers. So you have a divider for each of the characters that are in this, in case you're using the treasure or character trove, or I don't remember what the name of the other one was. There's 2 of those now, but the big oversized box, you basically store all of your characters. You can use those to divide them out. We have our new drink deck, and they are numbered on these if you've never paid attention. This is Red Dragon and 9, so we have 9 in the corner here. The same basic numbers of each in here. They've just changed up the names and the artwork to match with the theme. So I'm not going to go through every one, but I can flip through real quick. But you have the same 1s, 2s, 3s, stuff with chasers. Same number, I think, in all of the decks. I'll have to double check that. But as far as I know, they have the same distribution anyway. We get into our drinking events. Monster kicked open the door. Troll swill, gotta love that. Round on the house. Drinking contest, I think's been in everyone. Rough remedy. Mead. I've seen mead before. Dark and dwarfy. And then, of course, we get a divider for our character trove for our red dragon and 9 cards to separate them out. I did kind of skip over it, but we do have a new pub crawl card for the new pub. The Star Mole Drinking Hole. It's got a new event down here on the bottom that takes place whenever you crawl to it. That's cool to see that they're still supporting that feature, and I hope to see many more added on. But because of that, we've got a Star Mole drinking deck, and this says what goes in the deck here on the back, but that's our divider. And then we have our new Star Mole Drinking Hole drinks. Hot coffee a la mole. I love it. So that's our new drink deck for the new pub crawl. And next we have our new auto cards with our auto divider. I think I just separated all my auto into one. I didn't bother separating out the different types. I don't know if it lists the different types on the back. No, I guess not. Just the basics on how to play using auto. Auto's designed for lower player counts to basically make a 2-player game a little bit more fun. And they have the different symbols down here. So in this case, it is a berserker and the spelunker. They have different artwork to represent him in those different roles. And then each of the cards has a action, sometimes, or gambling, depending on when in the round they're revealed and what they do. More options for those, and you're supposed to pick so many of these. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, maybe 3. I can't remember anymore. But you mix these together, and then that makes the auto different every time you play based on the different classes that you pick and choose for them. So those are kind of neat. Always nice to have more options to those. And I think we're ready to get onto the characters now. We have 5 new characters. We'll get into them and go through them pretty quick here. First up, we have Jet the Courier. He's a Kobold Acrobat. And he's going to start with this Momentum card. It shows him doing backflips. Kind of love the concept behind this character. They also had a promo deck for him where every one of his action cards was just labeled Parkour. But that Momentum tracker, you have this little token of his hat. You're going to put that on Momentum 0, and it's going to move up as you gain momentum throughout the course of the game. Or lose it. It does go back down. And then you have your deck here. As with all the decks, the first half or so is basic copycat stuff. Every deck has, the gambling cards. Some have more, some have less, but they all have the same basic setup on those. They replaced Tip the Wench with Tip the Barkeep on some of these, which is kind of funny. Same thing with Stop Playing With Your Drinks. But then we start getting into his more unique cards that are just for him. And a lot of his cards do something with the momentum. So in this case, you basically run into somebody, you make them lose fortitude, lose all your momentum. There you get to draw a card, gain momentum, pick another player, they lose 2 fortitude, and you draw a card. So he's all about drawing extra cards. And a lot of fortitude loss. I think there's some that mess with drinks later on in here, but... And then he has ones like this, where if you have 3 momentum, you can do this as well. But that's his main mechanic, is working around the momentum there. He's going to be jumping around He's like a courier delivering things. So he's going to be jumping around, delivering packages, charging people for those packages, bumping into things, jumping off the walls, all kinds of interesting things. I kind of like the character. He does have a couple cards in here named Parkour. But overall, he's definitely a physical class. You can see almost every card involves fortitude loss. Quite an interesting character. I played a couple of these guys on the online version and had some interesting fun with him in particular. Next up we have Yelga. She's a Dwarf Ranger Beast Sergeant, and her job is to keep the different pests in control, basically, that are in the underworld. As with all your characters, you got your handful of cards that are the same. And then we start getting into her unique cards. Now her cards have the option up here where you can see this is dash pet, and they have these foot icons. That's on different actions and different types of cards. But she has other cards, if I can find one. Well, like here's one. If it's your action phase, you can play another action pet this phase. You could actually play 2 cards. There are some cards that just let you finagle with pet cards based on where they are. Putting them back in your hand, which I'm sure there's one in here somewhere. Eventually I'll find one. You have things like this. Reveal cards from your deck until you reveal a pet card. Add it to your hand. There's another one that allows you to play an additional card. Somewhere in there's one that allows you to put one back in your hand. So they allow you to finagle with these cards, any of them that have this pet subtype on here. And again, they have the paw prints in the corner. A pretty straightforward class, though. She's not as overly complicated as some of the other characters are these days. Interesting, not my favorite out of the group, though. Next up, we have Dale, the mycologist. He's a pixie farmer, and he's got these little rake tools that he's going to be using to harvest his mushrooms. And he has a secondary deck here of mushrooms. And you're going to be planting these, and then they age, and the little marker goes down. The amount they're worth over here when you harvest does different effects based on different cards that you're going to be using. Basically, you're going to be using these to power those cards. Also, if they get all the way down to the bottom, you can gather them, and then you get the gather effect that is on the bottom here. I think most of the ones in the beginning here have no effect. But you can see like some of these get better the longer they're out there. Some get worse the longer they're out there. And then you start getting into ones that have effects back here. It's just an interesting mechanic. And you're going to have a planter box basically above your player board, and you're going to be putting these mushrooms up there as they're planted. And on to Dale's actual deck. As always, we got our half or so here that are different. And we start getting into Dale's specific cards. And you can see here, this would be harvest 3, so you would have to harvest 3 value of these. If I could pick one up here. You would have to harvest up to 3 total, so you could do a 2 on one, a 1 on another, and so on. Anything extra is wasted, though, so if you do 2 2s, that extra 1 would be wasted. But if you were to harvest the 3, you would then get this effect down here. It's an instead, so you would ignore that top part and just do the bottom part. In this case, this one also, so you do both parts. But planting a mushroom allows you to flip one basically and put one of these into the planter in front of you. Growing a mushroom allows you to move that rake down one, making the values change. And then harvesting is when you purposely use them in order to, at a certain amount, in order to trigger new effects. And then gather is what happens when they completely get to the bottom there. But a lot of interesting things in here, and a lot of ways to finagle things. Like this one allows you to plant a mushroom from your discard pile, so you can pick a specific one instead of randomly drawing the top one. You got quite the mix of cards in here, though. Another one, it's a very interesting character. Not really my thing. Not my favorite one from the set, but definitely a fun and interesting one to play, especially if it's a mechanic you're interested in. Next we have Dr. Tercy, a human physician. And she has her own deck of patients here. And you're going to have patients come out onto a play area in front of you. You have a waiting room basically where 2 patients are going to be. These are what you need to treat them over here. If you treat them, then you gain the card and you can use it over here as the card type listed. So in this case, the sometimes card and the effect listed. They all have interesting names up here and they have cute little quotes at the bottom. They all require different supplies in order to basically treat them. You can see they got some that require more, usually have a better effect. And they're all kind of interesting. There's a couple duplicates of some, but most of them are unique as well, which are interesting. That's a very cool mechanic. I really like those. Then we have her tokens here. She's got one of the tokens for each of the different types of materials we need. I think there's 2. I want to say there's 3 of each. But you'll be gathering those up from using your cards. Again, we got our same basic set here, but you can see some of these even have the components down here in the corner. Whenever you play one of the cards with those components, you're going to gain those components. They go on your player card, and then you can use them to treat your patients. But once we get past the ones that are relatively the same to all characters, we get into more unique cards for her. And all of these here allow you to discard a patient. So once you have patients in your waiting area, they're kind of locked there and you're stuck till you either treat them or you get a card like this that allows you to discard them. A lot of minus fortitude cards in here. And a lot of ways to take money. Most of our interesting cards, though, are basically on the patients. The effects that they trigger based on treating them. So you're going to want to be treating these, getting those effects, and using those abilities. And those are where a lot of her actual abilities and things come from. So I really do like the way her character plays. It's a unique and interesting take on a character. It's not just a magical healer like all the other ones. It's an actual doctor who needs supplies to treat wounds and things. On to our last character, and this one is unique in the fact that it can also be used as a boss. We have Petra the Devious, the Demonkin Rogue. And you'll see we have a lot of cards here, and that's because we have our normal deck, and then we have our 15 card boss deck. And they have these little dragons in the corner. You're only going to use these cards if you're playing in the boss mode, otherwise they get left out. So you set those ones aside for now. We'll put those up there. Those are just the extra boss cards. They're basically more powerful versions and more of the same cards that are already in the deck. Then we have our ability card. She has an ability called Hellfire here, and it has a little token that's going to start at 0 and work its way up. Whenever it gets to this fire symbol, you're going to get this effect down here. And even if you go past it, so say you get here and you gain 2, you're going to go to there, trigger that, it's going to go to 0, and then you're going to gain your second one. So keep that in mind. They do go around. If you're playing in boss mode, you flip it over to this side, and the effect is higher, but you can see it takes much more to get it to trigger. There. And there's your little Hellfire token that you're going to use on that to keep track of that. And then onto her deck. Of course, the same basic set here. Get there. And we have our, I love this one. Of course I'm cheating. Who isn't? The special mechanic she has is down here are these scheme cards. So whenever you have one of these in your hand, I think once per turn or if a card allows you to, you're going to be able to put these face down above your player board as a scheme. There's no limit to how many you can have up there, but they do clear, I think, at the end of the turn. But anything that's up there, you can play from down there just as if it was in your hand by flipping it over. If you do that, you get the effect down here. So in this case, it's an additional, so you'd get this effect twice by doing it that way. The other nice thing is anything that's out there on the table in front of you does not count as being in your hand if someone plays a card that lets them say look in your hand or make you discard a card. You don't have to do that with the schemes that are in play. The catch to that is that if you have an effect that says, you know, discard this or lose 2 fortitude, something like that, you cannot discard those because they're not in your hand. So it goes both ways. But yeah, her main thing is going to be playing these cards face down and then triggering them from the schemes section. And then gaining the Hellfire. So you want that dial to go around because every time it gets around to that flame, you're going to trigger the effect on the bottom there. Another character that's heavy fortitude loss. Almost every card involves some kind of lost fortitude. See, I'm cutting off the names of these, I'm sorry. Because some of them have some entertaining names. She was one of the more fun characters to play out of the set. It does take some getting used to plotting the cards down and then playing them from there, as opposed to playing them out of your hand. You're also allowed to look at any of the cards that you have plotted down at any time, so if you forget what's where, you can always look down at them. But a very interesting and fun character there. And then, of course, because there's a boss mode stuff in here, they do have the potions, which I think you can use these in the co-op variant too. I have to double check, but I think they're using 2 different game types. Oddly enough, they did not come with the little gemstone tokens, which I'm sure I've got some laying around. They look like these, and they're used to keep track of which players have taken their action in the boss mode. You start on the green side. When you've done your action, you flip over to the red. When everybody's done their action, the round is over. They, yeah, it didn't come with a set of those, so I have a set here from one of my other boxes, but oddly enough, that is like the only thing missing out of here. I'm not sure if they just overlooked that or if they just assumed if you're playing that mode, you can either keep track some other way or you probably already have some. But anyway, that is a look at everything that comes in Red Dragon Inn 9, the Undercity. Overall, we got some great new character options in here. I definitely like the mechanics of a few of them. I got to play them more to get more of a feel for it. I don't think any of them replaced any of my favorites, but there's definitely some interesting takes in here. I think Tercy's probably my favorite one out of the set. If I had to pick just one, maybe Petra as a second. But Jet's entertaining. Dale's interesting. Yelga's kind of weird. I'm still definitely need to play her more. But all of them are decent characters, though. I would definitely play them all again. I love the fact that we got another bar for the pub crawl, and that they're keeping that mechanic up. I hope we get to see that in every big box set from here forward. New ones being added here and there. That is cool. More support for auto is always cool. So all around, I think this is a cool pack in every way. The nice thing about these bigger box sets is if you're new to Red Dragon Inn, they also make a good starting point because you can begin right from there. It's got everything you need to play the game in it. Overall, though, I think it's one of the better of the bigger box sets we've had in a bit. I was a little underwhelmed. Well, Pub Crawl was good. I was a little underwhelmed by the one that came before that. I don't even remember. I'm terrible with the numbers and names anymore. But, yeah, there's a couple in there I just wasn't that interested in. The Smorgasbox one was actually a really big disappointment for me. I really liked Roxanne in it, but it was not worth buying that whole box for one character. A couple other, there was the Gambling I'm In set in there, which I have zero interest in. It was great when they sold it separately and people could buy it if they wanted and ignore it if they didn't. So this one has nothing in it that I don't want, so I don't feel like I'm being forced to buy things I don't want, which is good. As I said, if you bought the Kickstarter edition, whether you got the one with the box or not, they were selling an eco-friendly one without the box. You're still going to get all the promo cards there. If you or the prize cards, you get the 3 there. If you did get the Kickstarter version, again, you get the extra 5 drinks, I think it is, 2 more promo card or prize cards, and the prize bin divider thing, which I'm not even sure I'm going to use that. So nothing big there. But yeah, overall, it's a great set. If you're new to Red Dragon Inn, the characters are a bit more complicated. I always suggest anybody new start with 1 or 2. And then if you like the game, then go on and add more. You can skip your way around however you want, but everything after 1 and 2 has a bit of a learning curve because each of the characters has unique mechanics, unique little extra decks and things that go with them. So you have to keep track of all that stuff and learn all that stuff. But if you're a veteran to the game, definitely start anywhere, play anything. It's all good. You do need the pub crawl, I think it was RDA 8, to really make use of the pub and the drinks. But other than that, yeah, everything in here is great. And love to add more to the collection. I don't even know how many characters we're up to now. It's insane. But I think Evil Pookie was the 50th character. And then they've had 2 sets since then. So we're in the 60s now at least. I don't know if any more singles have come out. So lots of characters to choose from. This adds more variety to those. And just takes a good game and adds more to it. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for our look at Red Dragon Inn 9, the Undercity. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.